Hi, I'm Lynda Hafner, top producing realtor at ERA Key Realty in Central Massachusetts. Today we're going to talk about how do I get started buying my first home. If this is your first video, please check out my other videos because this is actually answering the 13th question from a video I did where I go over answering 13 of the most popular questions that I get from first-time home buyers. So this was the last question and I went through the whole process, and please subscribe, check out those videos. You'll get lots of helpful information. So today it's the last topic for first-time home buyers. For a while, we are going to go into where do you get started in this whole home buying process. Hopefully you realize that the first part of buying a house means having had saved money for a while. And then it's just a matter of understanding, how much money you're actually going to need. Some people think, oh, I need 20% down. That's not true. I mean, you can actually get away with a much lower amount down than some people think. But at the same time, and yes, you can roll in closing costs, you can finance, so you don't have to worry about those quite as much. But there are some costs that you definitely have to have at least like 3% down unless you're getting a gift letter. You have to have some money that is actually in the bank as like a 2-month reserve, which is on my list here. These behind me are the things you need to be aware of when going to talk with a lender. But you have to have an understanding that your credit score needs to be really, 580 used to be acceptable. Depending on when you're watching this video, right now with COVID going on, the credit scores that they want are a little bit higher. I would say like 600 and over, maybe even 620 depending. But these are things you want to be aware of. Find out what your credit scores are. Have that awareness. If they're not where they need to be, talk with your lender, figure out ways to improve that so that you can, over the next few months, get to a point where you can be ready to purchase your first home. So that's one of the things. Then also, your income, you have to make sure that your income, how much house can you buy for the income that you have? All of these things are things you're going to need to think about. Also, the length of employment. If you've just got a job and it's your first job out of college and you don't have a long employment, you may not qualify yet. So all of these factors are things that you want to be aware of. But then to find out for sure, you can talk to a lender or a realtor. And the question is, who do you go to first? Do you go first to a lender or do you go talk to a realtor first? What's the answer to that? As a realtor, I personally prefer it when people come to me and talk to me and ask me what lender they should go to find out whether they're ready to buy or not. And the reason is because I have a long-standing relationship with certain people who I know not only can give you that pre-approval letter that you need in order to buy a house, but will also bring you all the way to the closing table, which is really what you need. But if you go to a lender, if you have a trusted lender or if you have a trusted bank that you use all the time and you want to just go directly to them, that's fine too. I mean, either way is going to work. But the bottom line is just to get started, reach out, and your goal is, number one, the pre-approval letter, because without the pre-approval letter, you really can't go house hunting, because one, you don't know what you can afford, and two, a lot of people don't even like to show you their homes unless they know that you have a pre-approval, especially in this current market we're in right now at the time of this video, which is a strong seller's market where there are many, many buyers interested in one home. They only want qualified buyers looking at their home. So they may not even sometimes let you see their home unless you have the pre-approval letter. So these are things to be aware of before you start that house hunting journey. To get your pre-approval letter, the lender is going to ask you to send them a lot of different documentation. You're going to need 2 months of bank statements where they can review everything. They're going to ask for permission to check your credit score. They're going to want pay stubs from the last few weeks. They're going to want the last 2 years of tax returns and W-2s. Then you give them all that information along with your permission for them to evaluate it all. And then they will come back to you based on all that information, but also this information behind me. They'll also take into effect, your income, how much money you have in your bank account, because not only do you need your down deposit money, but you also will need 2 months reserves of your mortgage payment in the bank, not touched. It cannot be used for closing costs. It can't be used as down payment. It has to be just like sitting in the bank in case something happens with your job and you have that money available to pay for your mortgage. So there's that, and then your credit score has to be 580. Well, it used to be 580. I really strongly believe they're cutting it off at 6 to 620 is kind of where things are at the last few months. It's changing. It's been changing quite a bit since COVID, and because of that, I'm not quite 100% sure, and it may change again post-COVID. So keep up with that and ask a lender, because like I said, it's not a static number, and it also, I think, does depend on a lot of other factors. So this is where it's so helpful to talk with a lender, get their advice, find out where you stand, what your financial picture is, because your financial picture is completely unique to you. Your work history, your income, and then debt to income. Debt to income, which I have on the board behind me, is very important. And how they figure that out is how much your monthly payment is for any debt that you have, like credit cards, car payments. They take what your monthly payment would be for your mortgage, and then you add all that up and divide that by your gross monthly income to get to what your debt to income ratio is, and they only allow a certain debt to income ratio, and it's usually in the vicinity of 43%. Different loans have different guidelines, but that's about what you're looking at. So these are all things. Some of this you can kind of calculate yourself in advance, just to get a feeling for things, but really should talk with a lender and give them all your information, and they will do the work for you and let you know whether you do or don't qualify. But that's really the basis of where you get started as a first-time home buyer. This is all of the grunt work that you need to do. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of paperwork that they require, but once you get all that done and you get that letter and they tell you what you can afford and what your monthly payment's going to be, then you can go house hunting. You can contact me. We can go start looking at houses, and have a very clear picture of what you can and can't do and what house you can and can't afford, and it makes it a much easier process. So I think the most important thing that I just really want to convey with the whole where do I get started with buying a home is, please just understand that what you think you can afford and what a lender will actually feel safe giving you are often two different things, and it can be pretty frustrating. I'm not gonna lie, because I've had many buyers come to me. They really want to buy a home. They can afford it financially, but some of these parts of the puzzle that a lender assesses as far as their risk factor does not add up to being approvable. And so as much as you want to buy a house, you may not be able to immediately. But it's still worth going through the effort of going through the process of the pre-approval, seeing where you stand, talking to the lender and finding out, okay, which part of this puzzle is not up to the lender's standards, and they will then tell you what you need to do to get to that point. And so, it may take a few extra months. You may need to work on your credit. You may need to save a little bit of extra money to have reserves in the bank, but you'll get there. And I'm there to support my clients who are trying to get a house. I mean, I love helping people get that dream. It's such an American dream, and I want to be a part of it. And I want to help you. And I love working with first-time home buyers. So if you're thinking of buying a home and you want help with this process, please contact me. I can help you to get started, tell you what you need to do. Just reach out to me. My phone number is right there. And I hope you have a wonderful day.